guys for coming. Good morning. Hopefully the tripping wasn't bad. Today is the third class, and as we said last week, it's about security and safety tips. We're gonna give you some tips on how to prevent scamming, and then also reduce the amount of spam calls you may have. Good morning.
Good morning.
No worries, you did not miss anything. I was just going over what today's class would be about, just a brief overview. So we'll go over common scam methods, email scams, phone scams, how to reduce spam, and just data protection in general. So how do these perps get our information? The main way they get our information is through data breaches. So popular companies like Netflix, Yahoo, Facebook, they've all been victim to hackers stealing personal data that's been stored in their company databases. So that's through no faults of your own. There's no way of preventing it from your end. These are people who maybe through a disgruntled worker that worked there previously got access to some important database with everybody's information and takes the information for bad use.
Is there any way to identify those people, those bad actors, and maybe do something to, for the consequences of that behavior, or is there nothing you can do?
Well, so there's cyber investigators, and they're able to track down, typically, like in the case of a disgruntled employee, they're able to see, okay, how did they get access? Well, they got access from a private email that only one employee should have. Then they talk to this employee, and then if the story matches up, then that employee may give up who the person that they sold the information to. And so, you know, they have their way of finding people, and usually with digital information, there's always some sort of paper trail because everything gets logged. So every sort of interaction you have with a computer, it sits in a log, and so that's one way that they're able to find out who did it.
And also a lot of times information, like really important information like your password or maybe your credit card information, a lot of times that doesn't get leaked. It's normally just an email or something, like using Netflix as an example. If a password or something like very important ever got leaked, they would send you an email letting you know that you have to change your password. But that rarely happens. A lot of times it's just, it's an email, maybe it's a preference of what type of shows you watch.
Right.
It's information that wouldn't really leave you too vulnerable or anything that you have to take action on.
Now, these perpetrators would be mainly this country or?
Good question. They can be anywhere. Yeah, it wouldn't be just this country. Certain countries, like I believe Russia, they if you hack from there, you don't face like U.S. extradition laws. So like you're able to get away with things a lot easier if you're in these countries. But yeah, they don't have to be from the United States. They could be from all over. So that's from like popular companies like Netflix, Yahoo, Facebook. Yeah, any company you name it, that you know they're susceptible to potential hackers, and that's through no faults of your own. There's no way to prevent it on your end, though it doesn't happen frequently. They happen from time to time, and when they do, it's a big story. Like you'll hear about it on the news, and then like Tegan said, you'll get a notification from the company that was hacked, and they'll tell you to change your password just for security measures. But then, same thing as Tegan said, the information that they're able to capture typically is very limited. So what they will try to do after they receive, like let's say your email, would be one of the next tactics, which is a honeypot tactic. Honeypots are exactly how they sound. They're sweet and sticky traps that are used to lure in individuals. They come in the form of a sign up for a newsletter, a coupon, or a raffle. One of the popular ones back in the day was win a free iPhone, and I'm sure they still have that going now. They'll send you an email, say, hey, you can win a free iPhone, we just need some of this information. If somebody got your information through a data breach, that's one way that they'll try to siphon more information out of you, because you'll go in, you'll put your email, and then they'll say, we just need a little bit more information from you. Can you put in your address? Can you put in, you know, your social security? And that's when they're able to capture a lot more information just with the little bit of information that they have.
And when you enter your email into some of these, a lot of times they share it with other people who do the same stuff. So a lot of times when you get a lot of spam email, it's because there's a good chance you entered your email in somewhere and they shared that information around. So all these sites, all these different perpetrators are sharing your email because they think you're more susceptible to it.
Is that why the phone numbers are always different?
Yeah, that's another reason too. That's technology they use to always change the phone number so they can stay ahead. And even if you block the number, there's still a chance they can call back.
Mhm. And then the last way is being purchased through the black market. Typically, that's where the information from data breaches will go. They'll create a list and then they'll send it out through the black market to sell to different, nefarious companies that do what do you call it, like telephone marketing, but they're doing it to try to scam you. Or they'll do it to these email companies that'll send you scam emails. But usually they're bought in bulk if the information is there, and then they just send bots to send them out to everybody.
Do we have access to the black market?
Anybody can access the market, so there's certain forums and websites where people will go. Some of them are in the dark web, which requires a certain type of there's a certain way to access it. You can't access it just generally through your browser, but it's not a good idea to, because usually if you're on there, there's other eyes that are watching you on there, and so you have to make sure that you're sort of invisible there as best you can. But that's where a lot of these guys lie, and that's where they trade this information, and then try to call you later on or send you emails to try to get information out of you.
Yeah, and the information that's used a lot of times, it's an email, it's a phone number, it's a preference of what you like. Maybe you recently purchased something, so that's how they use the idea to try to lure you in.
Yeah.
When there is a telephone call, we do not, if I suspect this is not, something is wrong there, is it good to, what I mean is let it go?
Yes.
And don't respond at all?
Yes.
Yeah, just decline it.
Mhm.
Just, no, there is a sense, should I just say disconnect it?
Yeah.
Or just let them do whatever they want to do, whether they want to leave a message or they want to call back?
Yeah. It should.
What is the best? Because somebody told me that if I disconnect, that means they know that I'm
Right.
listening to them.
Right,
I
right.
listen to them.
And that they know that you'll pick up. So if you pick up and then disconnect, they'll know that the number is live, and then they're
Yeah.
liable to do it again.
But that's only if you answer the phone. If you just decline the call as soon as it comes up, that's only if you answer the phone.
If answer the phone, but
Yeah.
if I just say disconnect. but-
Yeah, because when you decline the call originally, you're technically not disconnecting because you never connected to the call in the first place.
Yeah. So the best thing is to not pick up the call at all.
Just decline.
Just let it,
Yeah.
let it go.
You can let it go or just press the red button to decline the call.
Mhm.
So blocking the call, they just go around it to the,
Yeah, that's usually not that effective because they use so many different numbers. So it's that a lot of people block numbers and still get the calls. It doesn't. There are some other ways that are a little more effective, but blocking it on your own usually isn't the most effective.
Yeah, we'll talk about some ways later on too. But for now, we'll go into email scams. So there's a few things that stick out. You can see the red circles. Those are some things that you'll need to look for when you're getting an email that may seem like something that you have to reply to urgently. In this case, there's an email from management at masoncanada.ca. So they spelled Amazon wrong, but then also the address is Amazon Canada. Amazon's only website is Amazon.com. So anything coming from a website that's not Amazon.com, most likely is not Amazon. Like, more than likely or certainly is not Amazon. And you can see that it's missing an A in Amazon. But now going into the email, they have the logo. It's pretty convincing so far, right? They start off with a generic, non-personal greeting, dear client. And this is the email that's talking about this fraudulent activity on your account. Typically, if it's from Amazon and it's fraudulent activity, they wouldn't address you so generically. They would address you by name and tell you here are the steps. They'll give you a link like this, but then you'll have a better idea that this is for you and not just for anybody. If we go into the email itself, it says, we have sent you this email because we have a strong reason to believe, but believe is spelled wrong. Your account has been used by someone else in order to prevent, used by somebody else. In order to prevent any fraudulent activity from occurring, we're required to open an investigation to this matter. We blocked your Amazon account and you have 36 hours to verify it, or we have the right to terminate it. So, of course, they add some pressure to make you panic a little bit, so you feel like you have to make a decision now. Typically, in this case, it says we blocked your Amazon account. If you have access to your Amazon account, then that's a good time to get off this email and check to see if you got any in-app notifications from Amazon. Because if they were to send you this email, certainly they would send you a notification on the app itself. And if you don't receive anything telling you that your account may be terminated, then it's probably a scam. But the most important part is this part here. Oh, actually, before that. So it says, we have a strong reason to believe was spelled wrong. Scammers typically spell things wrong on purpose because the people who are susceptible to reading it and not pointing out the typos in their head are probably more susceptible to fall for the rest of the scam too. So they don't want everybody to fall for the scam. They just want the most vulnerable people to fall for it. So you'll see typos, but those are just things that they leave out so that anybody who obviously sees it, they'll just move on and they're like, all right, this is clearly a scam. But the people who are reading it and let their emotions get ahead of them and click the link despite the typos, that's the people that they want to continue the scam to try to get more, whether it's money or information out of. Now, back to the link here. It says to confirm your identity with us, click the link below. And then you have a link here, and it looks like an Amazon.com link. This part right here, you can make a link about anything. These are called hyperlinks when it's highlighted in blue, and when you click them, they'll bring you to another website. This can be anything. They could have highlighted to confirm your identity and put a link there, and it could go to any website. So the best thing to do if you're on a computer is to hover over the link, and usually it'll point to where the website is going to directly. And in this case, it's redirect.kedj.com, which is not Amazon.com. This is some other website completely. Simply clicking the link alone might give enough information to warrant future interactions from scammers or just information about you in general. Your IP address, which is just like a marker of where you are or where your connection is coming from, and information like that. So if you see a link like this, do not click it at all, essentially is what I'm saying. Don't click it, because then they'll really have some information on it. Well, not crucial information, but enough so that they might not leave you alone for a while. Any questions on this?
And sometimes the scams, in this example, it's not personalized, it says dear client, but sometimes they will use your name. Don't think just because they have your first name that means it can't be a scam. Sometimes they do have information like that, and they sometimes, certain scams are more personalized, and they actually only go after certain individuals. An example like this, they probably sent this email to thousands of people, so that's why it's just a dear client.
Some other things, and how to identify fraud and scam. It could be somebody falsely claiming to be from a business similar to this email here, or an organization that's familiar to you, such as the IRS, Medicare, USPS, or a utility company. USPS one is a popular one that people were getting throughout the holidays and even before and after, saying that you've got a package in the post office, and you might think, oh, that it's a very convincing one, because you're like, oh, if you got mail at the post office, I better go get it. But because it's on your phone, a lot of people aren't doing what we mentioned before about hovering over. On your phone, you have to hold down in order to see what the link is. But sometimes if you're not, too good with your gestures and you tap it, then you give them access to, then you click the link, and then they're able to capture some information from you clicking the link. So it's best, if you're not sure, not to click any links, especially if it's from, if they're saying they're from USPS or any of these companies. IRS wouldn't text you to say, hey, you owe us tax money. Typically, you'll get a letter in the mail, things like that.
And text messages and emails are the same. You want to look at who the text message is coming from. So like for the USPS ones, a lot of times it's some random email. It's not even a number. They still might spell words wrong on purpose or just have bad grammar. It's a lot of the same stuff that you'd look for in an email to see if it's a scam. It's the same stuff that you look at a text message.
At Christmas time, I had that one that you were just talking about, that scam, and then one with a broom. It says your hard drive needs cleaning by this, it was like a broom. Did you see that one? It's like, yeah, we're gonna sweep your account right into ours.
Yeah.
So I just thought, that's cute.
It was good, and you didn't click any of those, right? Good.
No, but I swore a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it can be great, good timing. One of the ways to identify it that we have here is if you're presented with a high stakes, alarming situation that requires you to act immediately with money, that's typically a red flag. It could be through ransom, threat of arrest, or exploitation or extortion. One thing that's been current right now, been prevalent right now, is like AI voice scams, where they'll pretend to be the voice of a loved one, typically a younger member of the family, saying that they're held for ransom, and they'll be hysterical on the phone, and if you're hearing it right at the moment, you're going to drop whatever you're doing to try to make sure that this person is okay, and that's what they want. And so typically in those situations, you want to still have a clear mind, and first see if, while you're on the phone, contact the person that is claiming to be on the other line. See if they're actually doing okay, see if they respond to the message. That way you know for certain that it's not the case. Because more than likely that wouldn't be the case, so.
And WhatsApp messages
Say again?
to scam?
Voice messages?
WhatsApp.
Oh, WhatsApp? Yeah, definitely, yeah. So it's the same sort of case with on an email or a text message. You can get a text from a random number for WhatsApp claiming to be whoever, and they might send you a link in the same way they would in a text. The same rules apply. Don't click any links. And for the most part, if it seems too good to be true, or if it's something that is just like we said, urgent, that feels like they want you to respond right now, then that might be a scam. So.
Yeah, and with the AI, that's not super common right now. I haven't actually seen anyone that's received an AI call or a scam. But it'd be very similar ways to identify. You want to look at what the number is, because if it sounds like a loved one, but you don't recognize the number, that could be a key indicator. And with the AI, it's not perfect. So a lot of times, when you just listen to it, you can kind of tell that it doesn't seem real. It will almost seem fake. because it can't mimic human emotion that well. So that'd be one way to look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have to remember to slow down and not let your emotions take over, and just really think, is this real?
My daughters and I have a password, so that if we ever got something, we end that text.
Yeah.
With some pet's name that died 200 years ago.
Okay.
So that we know that it's, who else would know that?
That's a very good practice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing with the AI voice is there's usually a delay in a live conversation. So like if you're hearing, if it takes like 5 seconds every single time for this person to respond, and then sometimes it sounds robotic, so there's some ways to like really keen in and listen to see if it's not the real person. Mannerisms as well, you know, and if, so like having a password like that, or looking for key details that identify the person that is claiming to be on the line, that's also a good way.
And a lot of the sites too, they sometimes they ask for money, but especially it's more of a recent thing. A lot of times they ask for gift cards. They want you to purchase gift cards for them because it's easier for them to use the money that way, and it's harder for you to get it back.
Right.
So that's another thing that you have to be careful of.
Now, on to spam calls. Why do we get spam calls? As we mentioned before, it could be through leaks, through information collected, through data breaches, honeypots, or the black market. And the one thing about it is spam callers, they get craftier the more sophisticated anti-spam technology gets. So we mentioned before about the different phone calls, and if you know, a scammer might call with one number, and then you may decline it, you may block it, but then you get the same scammer or spam caller calling back with the same different number. That is technology that's newer, where they can just hang up the phone, pick up the phone, and it's a new number every single time. So they can call you 12 times in a row with a different number if they'd like to. And so that makes it hard for like the FCC to, which is managing all communications, hard for them to track where the scam calls are coming from.
What is FCC?
The Federal Communication Commission, I believe. So they handle anything going on with the airway or like phone calls or communication. They've taken some steps to try to help prevent this spam calling. One way is now typically when you get a phone call and it looks like it might be a spam call, you'll get like spam likely or spam, a potential spam. That's an initiative from the FCC to like make people less susceptible and give them some awareness that this may be a spam call. But they have some other ways where we're going to explain.
And the main way that people that they normally get like your number, your email, and you get this spam is, from what I've seen, through honeypot tactics. A lot of times when it's because you've been a victim of one, you've accidentally entered an email into a site you shouldn't have, or given your number. Because although the breaches do happen and information is on the black market, that just isn't the most common way. The people with the biggest issues with spam, whether it's emails or calls, it's because they've been victims of honeypot tactics, and they've accidentally given their own information over, and that's why they receive so much, whether it's calls or emails.
Yeah. For me, my honeypot was once I was trying to search for somebody to help my parents get out of a timeshare, and so they had this one website where they were supposed to shoot you off to other potential like lawyers that would help with that. And soon after I sent my information out to there, I did get some calls for some timeshare companies, but then at the same time I got a bunch of different spam calls for people claiming to sell me timeshare, sell me this or that. So it can be, if you're not careful about where you put your information can get sold to these people who are willing to send you anything in order to try to capture your information.
Yeah, the more newsletters you sign up for, the more emails you enter or phone numbers you give out, that's the biggest increase to spam.
So we have some ways of combating it. I mentioned earlier the stir shaken, which is the spam likely notification that comes up when you get a phone call that may be a spam caller. That is through the FCC's initiative. You also want to contact your wireless carrier. So a lot of wireless carriers have built-in spam reduction software. So they, with T-Mobile, if you pay, I believe like $3 a month, they have a spam reduction program that'll limit the amount of spam calls that you're getting, block certain known callers. Same thing with Verizon, they have a similar plan. So you can check with your wireless carrier. Also, you can add your phone to the National Do Not Call registry at donotcall.gov. So that's one way you can put your information in. They work off of known numbers, so it's not foolproof. And because these known numbers are usually ones that aren't on that rotating phone call dialer. So it won't prevent that where people are picking up random phone number, but it will help mitigate a lot if you do get a lot of spam calls.
It's very easy to sign up for too. Normally you just go right to the site, enter your phone number, and then go through a couple screens saying that you want to enroll for the list. But I don't think you need to give any other information. You can fill it out in like 2 minutes. It's very quick and easy.
Yep. And one thing to note too, when checking websites, I don't think I mentioned it before, but if it ends in .gov, or like if you're expecting to be interacting with a government agency, the address should end in .gov. If it's like a notable organization, they'll end in .org. So things like that you want to look out for. Like you wouldn't get an email from irs.com. That is a red flag because IRS would be .gov because they're a government agency. Same thing with the RMV. You're getting RMV information. It should end with mass.gov. So things like that you want to really look out for when it's something to do with the government, because I know that sometimes can be scary. There's also third-party apps that are made for spam reduction, like Haya or RoboKiller. Those are similar to the wireless carrier option, where they're sort of fielding and going towards known numbers and preventing them from calling you. Both options aren't perfect, and both options have you pay some sort of money for the service. So it's really up to you whether or not you want the added security. And then lastly, just don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Just let it either decline the call or mute the call. But if you pick it up, that lets them know it's a live number, so they're liable to try again. Another thing that some people do, depending on how you are, I don't recommend it right off, but let's say you are getting tons of spam calls, you can, there's a setting on your phone where you can block all numbers except for your contacts. And that way, if you make sure that, you have to make sure everybody that would call you and does call you are on your contacts, because anybody else gets blocked. Even if it's, let's say somebody from the senior center, if you don't have the senior center's number, they'll get blocked through that option. But that'll prevent anybody from calling you that's not in your contact list. So that's like a sort of worst case scenario.
Yeah, the same thing can be true for the do not call registry. Like if you're waiting to hear a call from a business or something like that, the registry might recognize that number and block it. It doesn't block everything, but there are some numbers that it can. So you just have to be careful when using that if you're expecting calls from like a business or something that you don't have in your contacts.
And one of the most important things is, if you have been scammed, to not be silent, because the sooner the authorities are aware of the scam, the easier it is for them to catch the scammers and prevent them from harming others. So it might be embarrassing in a moment, but the sooner that you contact somebody, then the sooner justice can be served, and then also the less potential damage it would be on other people. And lastly, we'll just talk about some ways of data protecting your data. So the best way to do it, and nowadays is sort of mandatory, is through authentication. Authentication is something that you are, something that you know, or something that you have. So something that you are is one of the best methods of authentication, to the point where you know, it might supersede a lot of these whenever you're going onto an app. Makes it easier to go onto apps because they know how secure it is. So things like facial recognition, fingerprint scanning, or any sort of biometric reading, they're very, very, very strong forms of security, because only you can produce that information. Nobody from, you know, overseas or even even down the street is able to reproduce your fingerprint, or reproduce your facial structure, or reproduce your retina. So there's something that you are typically is the strongest form of security that you can have. So it's nice to have that setting on for your phone, whether it's a face scan, whether it's a fingerprint scan. It's a strong way of securing your information. Something that you know, that's a password or a PIN. That's one of the most elementary forms of security. It's not foolproof, but it is secure, especially when adding more characters to your passwords. It helps with security. And then something that you have, two-factor authentication app. Basically, that is an app that has a rotating number that resets usually every minute, and then you go onto the app and type the number into whatever app you're trying to go into, and then it'll allow you access. But it's more secure than, like, let's say just a password or PIN, because now it's only you who has that unique code on your phone. For instance, I'll show you with mine. We have this app, Authy, which has this number here. It rotates, so it doesn't stay the same. In 4 seconds, it'll change. So within the 60 seconds that number is up, I'll have access to my account if I type it in. So because it's not the same number and it rotates every 60 seconds, it's hard for anybody to try to reproduce it within that 60 seconds.
That's an app in our phones right now?
You'd have to install it. There's other forms of two-factor authentication. For example, if you're on a website, a lot of times it'll have you enter a password, and then it will send a text message to your phone.
Yeah.
That's a very
Yeah.
common example. Then what that does is that generates a one-time password. The keyword being a one-time password, sometimes people think they have to remember it, but they don't. It just gets generated for that one single login. And if you were to try to do it again, it would generate a new it's usually 6 digits, but that's a lot of websites use it because it's very secure, because you have to know the password, and then you also have to have access to the phone, for example, to receive the text message. So a lot of websites that want to be very secure and have important information a lot of times use the
My chart's
two-factor
doing that.
authentication. Yeah, it does. Yep. A lot of banks do it. Anything with really important information, two-factor authentication, that's becoming a very popular thing.
They keep doing it when I try to, is that because there's a big breach going on, or are they just being
No.
super careful?
Yeah, it's super careful. There's also, I think there's a setting when you sign in, there's like a little box you can select that says that just sign in normally. I think you can disable the two-factor authentication, but they use it just because it's one of the most secure ways.
Yeah. Then there's no IT number, so I couldn't call anybody to ask what was going on. I just kept getting all these like,
Yeah, with my chart, the IT, I believe, is specific to the hospital that you're calling. Like it'll be different depending on where your my chart is. So you'll have to probably go onto the website of the hospital to find my chart technician.
But yeah, the two-factor, that's just that each time they send you a password. So if you're getting a lot of texts, it's probably because each time you try to sign in, it sends you a new like code.
So, a lot of banks don't require two-factor authentication.
Don't require it?
Sometimes they do on the first time you sign in, but then after that they don't. It all depends on their own security measures.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome that, something like that?
Sometimes it's optional. Like if you go into your account settings, there might be a checkbox for you to check in two-factor authentication. So then every time you sign in after that, you'll type in your password, but then they'll say, we sent a message to your phone. Please type in the code into this box, and then you'll be able to have access.
Yeah, some sites like MyChart require it, at least for the start. A lot of times you have to set it up on your own. It's like, yeah, it's more of an optional thing. It all depends on what the company it is or what website and how they choose to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you what's up?
What's that? Yep.
Like a month ago, the FBI sent, I think this wasn't a scam, the FBI sent out saying you need to protect yourself with this program that encrypts your something.
Mhm.
Is that a scam, or was that something that actually happened? Because then I called my daughters and we're all now on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
But then you just said that they can access WhatsApp.
Yeah, I don't think they can. What do you mean they?
The FBI, I don't think the FBI would contact you through WhatsApp, but also too, I don't know if they'd be
It
like.
was, no, I'm sorry, it was on the news.
Oh, it was on the news. Okay.
Right, so, which makes me wonder that nobody else has heard this, so I'm
Yeah.
wondering what I just did.
But yeah, I'm not too sure of them exactly, like specifically recommending a specific.
They said there are different programs.
Program. Okay. All right.
But what's up, they said we'll encrypt your.
Oh,
Yeah.
Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah, WhatsApp has their own encryption.
Yes.
Like
Is that safe
services.
to do that? Because that's what my kids and I are doing now.
Yeah, that's absolutely
Communicating
fine.
through
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
That's more of like after, let's say, even in the case of let's say your phone was taken by the FBI because you were doing some bad things. The information that you have on your WhatsApp, let's say you've wiped your information and you've cleaned it out. Now you made it harder for them to find your information. The fact that they're encrypted just means that in order to get access to it, they'll have to go to Meta, which is the parent company of WhatsApp, ask them for permission to decrypt your information in order to then be able to, use that as evidence
It's
against you.
just too much work for a spammer or a scammer, because.
Yeah, encryption is pretty good kind of protection. If it's
Yeah.
encrypted, it's difficult for someone that doesn't have access to the text message to
And
view
it's a
it.
safe,
It's very safe, yeah.
really good, it's safe.
Yeah.
But you could still get scammed on WhatsApp. There are still scammers. It's not impossible to get scammed. There's still people, they always look to take advantage of others.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful.
And that encryption, as we mentioned before, with the scammers, that's part of the reason why they're, more inclined to use it, because as the same scenario I mentioned, if they wipe their information clean, the police come to investigate them. Now it's a lot harder for them to get information from the text messages or from the WhatsApp messages because the data is encrypted. So,
So it's good for them?
yeah, it's good for them too.
Scammers?
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be using it?
You should be using it. So it's good to use no matter what. It's just like the way that it's good for them isn't a way that it's bad for you. It's good for them because for the same reason it's good for you.
The
It protects your.
FBI can't get in and prove.
It's because everyone that uses WhatsApp, their data is encrypted.
Mhm.
So it's not one person's data is encrypted versus one isn't. Everyone's data is encrypted,
Mhm.
meaning everyone's is protected.
I don't want to confuse the issue. What the FBI actually said was that you should be using, if you're texting from a person, if you have an iPhone and you're texting another iPhone, it's totally encrypted on both sides. But if you're texting from an iPhone to an Android, it may not be. So then they were saying use something like WhatsApp because that is encrypted.
Mhm.
So the encryption is the big thing because that's what offers the protection.
But between two iPhones, there's not a problem because they're automatically safe?
It's way more secure that way than
not 100%.
Because with the iPhones, they both have it's the iMessage, so it's
Yeah.
through their own app.
Right.
But an iPhone sends a text message to an Android, it's a little different.
You'll know
It's the
that because
different
it'll be a
actions.
green message when you text it,
It
yeah.
would also say text message versus like iMessage.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that WhatsApp is more secure than an iPhone to an iPhone, it's just that they're both
Between the,
encrypted,
platforms.
so they're a little safer than just you using your iPhone to talk to your, text a friend on an Android.
Yeah, anytime you see anything is encrypted, that means that it's secure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you type in secure on the tagline? Does that work or is that a fallacy?
It's
Oh.
automatically encrypted.
Yeah, so typing secure doesn't make it more secure.
Yeah.
It'll just, you're already secure.
Everything gets encrypted, like WhatsApp, everything gets encrypted, iMessage, everything's just automatically encrypted. There's nothing you have to do to activate it or turn it on, it's not like a switch.
All emails are not encrypted.
No, emails aren't encrypted, so that's actually a good point. There are certain email providers that provide encrypted emails, but in general, they're not.
So it's not safe to say social security number, for example.
Yeah, on your email, no,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. Good point. Absolutely not.
You said something about the messages,
Mhm.
could be green color,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So that means it's you're sending a message that's not to an iPhone. You're sending it to an Android or a different device, and then in that case, your information is not encrypted anymore.
There, there is a chance that if someone has an iPhone that you're texting, it could show up as a green message depending on what settings they have set up, or if they're connected to cellular, like data. So it could get tricky, but for the most part, anytime it's green, it means an
So,
Android.
yeah, because I've seen that usually it's blue, but sometimes it comes green.
Mhm.
What am I supposed to do then?
No, that's okay. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. There's no difference. It's just now you just know, like iPhone to iPhone is encrypted. So now, you know, if you were to give sensitive information to somebody who had an iPhone, you know that nobody will be able to access it unless they're looking at your phone or looking at the other person.
So you know if it's blue, that means encrypted. If it's green, that means it's most likely it's not.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean it's completely unsafe. You can still text someone with an Android.
Right. Yep. Any other questions? That's the end of today's class. And don't forget, we do offer one-on-one support, so please do reach out, and then we can either schedule a visit at the office or come out to you to help with whatever devices that you may have.